All right. So today I want to walk through the new features that I've just released in my bug bounty hunting framework, the Arson framework version 2. And I'm very excited to announce that I have gotten word that I'm going to be giving a talk on this framework at DEFCON 33 this year at the Bug Bounty Hunting Village. So if you're going to be there, love to see you, but I'm very, very excited. I'm going to correspond that talk with the launch of the open beta of this. So what we're going to see today is the final demo version that I've created. I'm going to be doing a closed alpha over the next about month and a half. And then again, at the beginning of August, DEFCON 33, I'm going to give my talk and that will launch the open beta. It's going to give you a lot more opportunity. First, going to have the full tool as opposed to what you've just been, or what you have available, what you can play with right now. But it's also going to have a lot more options for you to kind of contribute and make recommendations on changes that we want to make, feature requests, anything like that as well, right? It's going to be a lot of feedback, hopefully, coming in from the community. And then I'm going to be making adjustments to that while I'm building out the educational content and stuff that's going to live within that as well. But anyway, let's go ahead and get the screens flipped here. I just wanted to record a quick video, super rough. Haven't really thought much about what I want to talk about, but I just want to show the new features, right? So I just released a new demo version today. So you can see on my GitHub here, all you have to do is go to the tool, the Arson Framework version 2, come down to the releases, and on the top, you'll see there's the final pre-alpha release here. So we go ahead and click that. And you get a nice little summary of everything that's in here. So the new features can be broken down really into these three main categories. The first one we'll look at is the auto scanning for the wildcard workflow. So the workflow that I showed in my first video, if you've been playing around with the tool at all or you're familiar, this is the most common bug bounty workflow that's really out there. Before you had to go through and click every tool individually. Now there's a great auto scan functionality where you can choose which tools you want to run. You can set limits on the number of subdomains and live web servers it finds. And then you can go ahead and run it. You can come back when it's complete. So super helpful there, hopefully. We also have the company workflow here. So in addition to the wildcard workflow, I built out the first half of the company workflow. So that's where you're going to start with a company. So company name typically. And the goal is to enumerate the entire attack surface. But the part that I've built in today allows you to go from that company name and identify root domains. So these would be passed over to the wildcard workflow to go and discover all those subdomains up there, but root domains that are owned by that company. I've got a lot of different ways to do that and a lot of ways to try to identify whether or not it's actually owned by the company and pick good targets to kind of move over to that wildcard workflow there. And then we've also got a lot of updates to the settings. These mostly came in as requests in our discussion. So again, if there's anything that you want to see, please give me as much feedback as possible. Doesn't matter what it is. I'll take it and allocate it where it needs to go. The more feedback I get, the better I can make this tool. So please. But these were several different requests that I've gotten. One, rate limiting for each tool. So you can go in and speed the tools up. You can turn them down. Not every tool has that functionality available, but everyone that does, I've put that ability so you can set it with just a simple slider in the settings tab there. We've also got custom headers and custom user agents. So a lot of bug bounty programs require us to have a custom header, custom user agent that identifies our username or identifies us as a bug bounty researcher. We can now very easily do that so we can adhere to those program rules. That was a great recommendation there. I was very happy to put that in. API keys. So we do have some tools now. We already had AMAS that was going to use them in the future, but we do have some tools within the company workflow that require an API key. So now you can easily go in and get those added in. You can manage them. I'll walk through all that there. And then finally, the backend server is no longer running on 8080. I don't know why I did that at first. I wasn't really thinking, but obviously that causes conflicts with a lot of tools. Burp Suite is probably the most notable one there, but no more. It's now running on 8443. That should make that a lot better. Should get rid of any conflicts there. So anyway, that's everything I want to walk through. I have already installed it. I have tested this thoroughly on a Windows 11 machine, on the latest version of Kali Linux, and on my Mac with an M3 chip. So it should work fine on any of those systems. If you start getting out to like an Arch Linux or something else, I haven't really got a chance to test that there, but I do have an engineer I'm working with that's going to test that fairly soon. So yeah, trying to get as many different use cases as possible. Again, they're Docker containers. You can use them however you'd like to use a Docker container. Every time I go in, it's Docker compose, right? So Docker compose up, tac build, you're good to go. I've already done that. I've already built everything. So we have our app running here. And let's go ahead and start with the Wildcard workflow. And we're going to look at GitLab a lot today. So I'll go ahead and do star.gitlab.com, just one of their main domains there. So again, most of this, we go straight to the Wildcard workflow. Should look pretty familiar. You know, we've got everything down here is going to look the same, although I have done a lot of improvements to the way some of the tools run. Yeah, I mean, just a lot of refinement, but you're not going to see a ton of it on the front end here. But obviously what you will see is our new autoscan tool at the front here. So, and again, so you click configure and you can go in and identify what tools you want to run. And, you know, very easy, select, deselect, you know, I'll start with this light one here, but then you can also, I have some that are pre-built. So, you know, quick scan, balance scan, we don't need reports. We don't want to run AMAS because it takes too long, etc. So you can configure those. I'm going to build out a lot more as well, maybe give you the ability to build your own and save them. But for right now, this should be good for what we need. And I'm going to get rid of these because they'll take a little bit more time, as well as get all URLs because that one could take a little too long as well. This is a good just initial test if you want to see like how many subdomains might this target have. You know, I might go and check this. And then like I mentioned before, you can also set your sliders here. So every time we go through and consolidate the subdomains and identify the live web servers, you can set a limit to how much you want, and it's just going to pause the scan if it hits that limit at that time. So this can go all the way down to 10 and 5, all the way up to a fairly large number there. You know, if y'all want me to expand this out, I can, but I can tell you the tool's not really optimized to handle a huge number of subdomains yet. That's something that's going to happen in beta. So it's probably a good idea to keep these on the lighter side, you know, maybe something like this. And GitLab's going to have a lot anyway, but that's okay. So we'll save this configuration. It's just a very easy custom scan there. And then all I need to do is hit auto scan and it'll start running. We've got this nice user interface here, and I can show as well, I can pause this whenever I want to. Now the way the pause works, there you go, it's going to wait for that tool to finish. So we did have sublister finish there, or at least it'll finish collecting once we resume it. It'll show us the number. And it'll just sit there and wait until you come back and hit resume. So if you're running a scan and you want to hit pause and you know it's taking up too much of your network, or you want to come back to it later, you can certainly do that. Very easily hit resume whenever you want, and it will go ahead and kick back in. So you can see, and you can also cancel it. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel this here just so that we can see how it happens. Same thing, it's just going to wait for that tool to finish, and then it will wrap up the scan. We'll see a full larger scan later, but yeah, it just goes through and clicks through these. And the way the auto scan works, it's all kind of an orchestration from the front end. So it's essentially automating the experience of a user just clicking these buttons one by one, monitoring them to finish. It's not all happening on the back end there. So we can see Asset Finder finished there. It's gone up and told us it's completed. And that was all we had there. So in the scan history, right, we can come through and see that it completed successfully. We can see the ones that ran. Now, obviously, we didn't actually collect what we needed there, but that's fine. We can come back and get that later. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So that was the Wildcard auto scan. Now we're going to look at the first half of the company workflow. So we're going to come in and add a new scope target, but instead of choosing a wildcard, we're going to come and choose a company, and we'll just stick with GitLab here. Come over here and select active target. And now where we used to have that little coming soon message, we actually have a workflow. Now I want to go ahead and call out, first of all, this has not been built out. This is not done. The workflow that is fully built out ends at the consolidate root domains here. So the whole goal of this workflow right now is to go through and identify root domains, as I mentioned, that the company owns. And then the goal is to pass that over as a wildcard target right here. And then we'll go back over to the workflow. We can run the auto scan, collect it, and see what subdomains are there. And then eventually we'll be able to pass one of those subdomains over as a target URL. And our goal was going to be to find attack vectors within there. So here's the possible client-side injection attack vectors, server-side injection. Here's why, here's what to test for, everything. So everything that you can kind of learn manually, and then there'll be automated ways to do that too. Anyway, but first, so starting with the company, and autoscan has not been built out for this. We're going to come through. We have two main sections that I've built out with different tools. The first does not require any API keys, right? And we have a manual Google dorking. We are going to use certificate transparency logs, which are available to us. This is separate from what we do in the subdomains. There's a different parameter that you can pass to CRT, and it will return a different set of domains based on a reverse whois lookup. And then we also have a couple other reverse whois well-known free tools we can go in there and manually do it. So starting with the Google dorking, and one of the things that always frustrates me, or is really challenging is the wrong word, but it's just not a great experience when you're doing Google dorking, is jumping around between all the different tabs. And so I wanted to find a way to solve this where we had just this one picture here where we can we can run the dorks, we can see the results, we can add the domains all in one central, I don't know what you would call it, user interface, one central, I hate single pane of glass, which is what my mind is telling me to go to, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. So all you have to do, I've got a ton of different Google dorks here that I have used throughout my career. It's been successful to find domains. You know, we can also find some different files and everything, which I think is interesting. But yeah, all types of different things. And it automatically builds these searches out so that all you have to do, and you can open it up in another tab if you want, and it'll do that. But you can also click load, and you're going to have the Google search load directly within the framework here. So it's very easy, right? Immediately we're seeing this, you know, GitLab.com. Let's go ahead and get that one added. And then you know what? A root domain doesn't just have, you know, something dot and then a .com or dot, you know, it's possible for a subdomain to also be a root domain, to have multiple different subdomains under that. And that usually happens when it's built by a specific purpose. And so I'm wondering, this about.gitlab.com, that may be an entirely different application with an entirely different set of subdomains that live under that. So I'll go ahead and add that as well. Let's come check out .net. We do have a GitLab.net, and the ops is kind of interesting too. Let's get ops.gitlab.net. And again, you can scroll down here and see, so there's your gitlab.com, which we know exists. Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on this. You know, maybe we'll also come over, let's look at the subdomains for .io. Do we have that? So we have, you know, pages.gitlab.io. That's probably, you know, that's fine. That's probably going to give us a lot of just random subdomains from people that have individual accounts. So that's probably not a great one, but I'll add it anyway. And maybe let's just check some different local, you know, does GitLab have a Japanese version? Well, there's gitlab.co.jp. So let's try that one. All right. And I do want to call out as well. So one of the reasons I like GitLab to show this is ultimately what you're looking for. I can come down here to the scope. The main use case for this workflow, now I do it for a lot of different types of bug bounty programs and things, but if you can find any programs, GitLab's a great one, Tesla's another very famous one, that allow you to submit on any asset, on anything that is owned by the company, then this is a great workflow for you, because you can hopefully go out and find those root domains that a lot of other people aren't finding. And then that will be your way to go and discover, you know, again, vulnerabilities that people aren't finding as well. So, but yeah, so hopefully this is a good solution to manually going through and running these dorks. I try to automate it as much as possible. I've been using this feature a lot recently, and I really, really like it. So I hope you will as well. Well, let's go ahead and toss that out there. And then now we'll go ahead and hit scan, and we'll let this run to gather, you know, something from the company. Now, GitLab, if we're doing GitLab, it's probably going to have a large amount, and that actually did not find anything. Let's see. Actually, if I remember correctly, GitLab for some reason doesn't return anything here, which is kind of surprising. Let's just make sure. Let's come over here and let's try, I don't know what a good one would be. I guess Starbucks. Why not? Starbucks does not have a wide open scope like that, but let's just come and make sure. So I want to show what it would look like when we do find something. I remember testing this on GitLab, and for some reason it returns successfully. I tested it manually as well, but it never has any results. I don't know if GitLab has done something with them to get it removed, or if maybe there's something with with the syntax there. I don't think so, though. I've tested a ton of different companies, and it really doesn't happen that often. Let's see, this shouldn't take more than a minute or so. Typically, it's pretty quick, although who knows, Starbucks may have a huge number. We'll let that run for a minute. I'll go ahead and, oh, there you go. Oh gosh, yeah, okay, so that's a lot more than I would think, but that's totally fine. So, okay, I'll go ahead and go back over to GitLab. GitLab, I would think, would have a large number like that too, but okay. And then we've also got a reverse whois, which is, again, kind of what we're already doing there with the certificate transparency logs. We can do this as well. I would have loved to embed these into the framework like I did with the Google dorking. It's not possible with the way they have these configured, or with the way they have these pages configured, at least not in a way that I was able to figure out. So we do have to go to another tab, but I try to make it pretty easy. So you just click on this. It's automatically going to search for GitLab here. And then you can just come and grab a few of these, hop right back over, you know, not too bad there. Let's get one more, maybe, sure. And you do have to remember that you are going to need to try and do some work to validate to make sure that these are owned by the company, because it's, you know, these are coming from various sources. You know, you want to get the whois, you know, yourself. I've got some ways to do that within here, but yeah, just kind of keep that in mind as you're going through. This one here, so I can't automatically search, but it just opens up here. It takes you over here, and then we'll do GitLab. And the same type of thing, right? We've got information on where it's registered, etc. Let's just grab this test GitLab. That should be fine. And yeah, that should give you a pretty good idea, right? So got a couple from the manual Google dorking, couple from the reverse whois. Typically, you would have a good number from here, but for whatever reason, GitLab doesn't. Okay, so moving on to the ones with the API, or moving on from the ones that don't require an API key. Now we have 4 tools that do require an API key. And you see here, there's also 2 that require you to pay. So I don't want to leave these out, but I always want to have free versions in here. Security trails, you can go here and let's see if it's going to open up for me. You can sign up for a free account. You can get your API key there, and then you will be able to scan, I think it's 50 a month with that, which is, you know, really, it's plenty. And then GitHub, all you need is just a GitHub pat. So go sign up for a free version of GitHub, and you can do that. Now to add the API keys, there's a button here, or you can come up to the settings. So this is probably a good time to go ahead and talk about the settings. I mentioned before, we can come in and set the different rate limiting. So I want HTTPX to run a little quicker there. I want get all URLs to run a little quicker as well. You know what, shuffle DNS, that's kind of bogging up my network. So I'm going to dial that back a little bit. So we'll go ahead and save that there. And we also, like I mentioned, have the ability to add our custom user agent, custom headers. I'm not going to add any of that now, but you just type it in and save it. And you got a little bit of information about where it's going to be used, where it's not going to be used, and you know, explanations about why it may not be used. A lot of things like DNS resolution is not going to have that, etc. And then we have the API keys. So you select which tool you want to use. You can name the tool. So this one will be demo 1, and then you'll enter your API key here. Now I'm just going to add in a couple random ones. We'll do that. We'll do a GitHub pat. All right, fairly easy. Let's add in one more for security trails, demo 2. We'll just pretend that's an API key. And there you go, right? Very easy to delete. So I don't want that one with GitHub anymore. We'll go ahead and save that. And then when you come down here, you'll see that some of the buttons have started to become enabled. So this one is enabled, none of the other ones are. If we come to configure API keys, now you could come and select which one you want. So you can cycle between these different ones very easily. And if you don't have one yet, click add API key. It'll take you right back up there. So yeah, when we do add it, come back here, save settings, you'll see that that scan button is going to be enabled now. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. I'm going to add in my real API keys so that you can't see and steal them. And actually, they're probably throwaway keys anyway, but still, I'm going to do that. I'll come back and we'll go ahead and run a few of these tools and then move on to consolidating and identifying some targets. Okay, so I've got my API keys added in. Now I'm not going to do census because census is actually pretty expensive. So I'm not going to run one for this demo here. Again, if you want to use it, you're welcome to. You definitely don't need it, but I do have API keys for security trails, GitHub, and Shodan right there. So let's come into configure, and I'm going to make sure that I have the real key selected for each one as I've just added. And there we go. So we can go ahead and hit scan on each one of these. They typically run pretty well together. We'll make sure if we have any issues. It all just depends. It depends on the system. Oh, GitHub Recon did not find anything, and I would think it would. So something may have gone wrong there. We'll wait and see. I'll wait for Shodan to finish too. Shodan does a few different things in there. So it doesn't just search for the organization. It also does some checks for some headers, header values. There's a few different ways that it goes in and uses the Shodan API to try and find something. So it'll take just a little bit longer. There we go. I'll try GitHub one more time. I would expect this to find something, I think. So it might have just hiccuped. Maybe not though. Are we getting an error? Oh, it's completing successfully. I'll take a look. All right, sorry about that. So I had to cut the video off and troubleshoot for a little bit. What happened was I accidentally copied the wrong value in as the GitHub personal access token. And so that's why it wasn't working, is it was just basically junk data for both of the API keys there. So good job me. And now if I hit scan, I would expect this to come back with some results, assuming it is running. There we go. Okay, yeah. So again, user error there, right? Layer 8 error. But yeah, accidentally put in the wrong thing. That seemed like it worked just fine. So we've got some domains. We got some that we found manually. We've got the ones that were found through these automation tools. So now, just like our wildcard workflow, we want to consolidate these into a single list that we can work with. So let's go ahead and hit consolidate there. We now have 85 of those, and one of them has already been created as a wildcard target. That was the first one that we did. So it's already identified that GitLab.com has been created as a wildcard target before, and it's been added in there. We also have the ability to trim these down. So if, and again, there can be some just completely out of left field domains that come out, or maybe you just don't want to have so many. I've got this little utility in here. You can select all, you can deselect all. You can very easily just kind of drag, some of the ones that you want here. If we come to one that has a bit of a bigger thing, right? So I want to do all those, maybe not these here. Yeah, try to make this a good, clean user experience there where you can come and delete them. And we'll just, well, I'll tell you what, this one right here is a great example. This is 100% not an actual domain. It's very clearly a file name that was found there. So we'll just go ahead and delete that selected there, consolidate. Oh, it looks like consolidate actually rolled that out. The consolidate logic does try to identify ones that are very clearly not domains. They have some common file names and stuff that are built in there. But so now let's go ahead and hit investigate. Now what investigate is going to do is it's going to go out and gather a ton of information about these domains. And if I hit add wildcard target, you'll see a lot of the information it's going to find, right? It's got IP address, it's going to get the title, it's going to get the current status of the certificate. So does it have SSL? Is the certificate expiring soon? Is it expired now? Is it mismatched, etc.? What is the ASN provider? What was the HTTP response, right? Are we getting a valid response, a 403, etc.? And then company map. So it's actually going to do a quick little crawl of essentially the URL of this domain. So in the same way that I can click this, and it'll open up, I don't know if this is actually going to be one that loads, but it'll open up HTTPS, // this domain. It will go there and attempt to crawl it, do a light crawl, and try to find out if the company name is somewhere within those server responses. And if it is, that can hopefully identify there's a potential that it actually does belong to that company. So that's the thinking behind there. The investigate scan is still running right now. And then finally, you can go in and just very easily add them. And now you can see up here, there's a lot of different ways to filter it. We'll take a look at that in a bit. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video. I'll let this run because the investigate with 65 domains probably going to take about 10 minutes or so. And then I'll come back, we'll look at the results and go from there. All right, so our investigate scan is complete. And we go ahead and hit add wildcard target. Now we have all this great data that we can use for this. So you can start searching through this. So for the domains, right? If we just want ones that have GitLab in the name, we can search that and very easily narrow that down, right? There's just it's built in React. So should be a very good experience there. Maybe what just GI, let's see if that expands up to anything else. If we just want to search for lab, we want to search for dev, maybe that's something, right? Yeah, you can do this however you want. Company match is one that is typically good. So again, these are ones that did find the company name in the DOM there. And typically you do see a pattern, right? The title, this is kind of interesting. You can hover over this, by the way, to see the full thing there. That is kind of interesting. Yeah, it doesn't have an IP address. This one right here has a mismatched one. You can click on these if you want to open, right? So that's confirming that mismatch. This looks like it may be just somebody's thing that's open there. So that may not be good. I don't really know what that is. Anyway, but yeah, you can search through all of these, and then any one that you want to go ahead and add. So let's go back to, let's go all company match. Let's just type in GitLab. Which ones here are actually run? Then, GitLab.com we've already added. Maybe we could, let's add in this one as well, the ops.gitlab.net. For GitLabs, and yeah, this is one that might be a good target that we want to play with. Let's go ahead and get that one added. Let's maybe do, what happens with pages here? That redirects over to a docs.gitlab. That's, you may have some client-side injections, but that's about it. Yeah, that's probably fine. We could take a look at the about as well. Does this, that does stay on one there again. Probably more of a marketing page and everything, but it doesn't hurt. Yeah, it's as simple as that. So we've gone ahead and added those as wildcard targets, and now we can come back, select active target, and we've got them listed here. So we can come over to our ops.gitlab.net, and once again, we can configure our quick scan here. We'll hit save, go ahead and click scan there, and that's going to be it. So I think that's everything that I wanted to show. I can go ahead and get the go ahead and get everything flipped back there. I walked through all the settings and everything. Yeah, this scan is going to run for a little while, but that's about it. Everything else works the same. You go through, like I said, you'll find you'll get the ROI report at the end of this. You'll find which live web servers are there. And then the goal was to pass that over to the URL workflow and start to identify attack vectors that you can actually begin testing manually or doing automated testing for those specific vulnerabilities. So the other thing that's going to happen is in the company workflow. So I'm going to continue building out. We're going to do on-prem infrastructure that you can find first. So looking at the net ranges within the ASNs, and from there trying to identify IP addresses and ports that are pointing to live web servers. We're going to be doing the cloud infrastructure as well. So does the company have anything in the cloud? What are the assets? What types of things are publicly accessible so that we can start to do cloud testing as well. But ultimately the goal with the company workflow is to use that along with the wildcard workflow, which is going to be able to pull results back into the company workflow so that ultimately you can do nuclei scanning across the entire attack surface. It's going to be a very, very nice user interface where you can go and select which one of the targets that you found, whether it's an IP address, a domain, anything like that, and you can go and include that in a wideband nuclei scan and start hitting everything. We're also going to have leaked secrets. So in the same way that I've got the manual Google dorking, where you can go in, I also want to do that with things like GitHub, GitLab, paste bin, Stack Overflow, anything that we can try to use to identify a leaked secret or code or anything that the company may have accidentally released. It's going to be a methodology very similar to the gentleman. If you ever seen his videos and stuff, it's phenomenal for finding leaked secrets in GitHub and GitLab, things like that. But that's really it. That's everything I wanted to walk through. Like I said, this is super rough. I'm not doing a lot of stuff to plan this out. My main focus right now is just building this framework, getting it where it needs to be before DEFCON. Once that's done and we do the open beta launch at DEFCON, I'm going to be working on optimizing the framework, but also my main focus is going to be building out content for this channel that is in line with the educational content that's going to be built into the framework. So if you have been waiting for me to do more videos, I know I've said this over and over again, I promise, big things are coming. Big things are coming, big changes are coming. I just need to finish building this out. I'm spending a ton of my free time doing this. Please go take a look at my commits on GitHub if you don't believe me. And again, just keep in mind, you know, I'm doing this in my free time. This is not my full time. I do have a full-time job. I have a life, family, friends, and everything. And in between all of that, I do my best to build this out for the community. So I really hope it's helpful. I really hope this is something that can aid you in your bug bounty journey, your cybersecurity journey, however you want to go with it. Yeah, I think that's about it. I will, you know, again, feedback in the discussions. Let me know what you want to see. I will do everything I can for DEFCON, and we'll go from there. That's about it. Like I said, I hope it helps. Thank you. Cheers.